You know probably that compliance is demanding a lot of efforts and money uh, for reaching it, and most of the compliance requirements in the world, starting from the like standard European compliance rules, and going to specific like medical, like HIPA, are Google is compliant to these regulations from the start. So placing your data to the Google Cloud's infrastructure puts you into the safe side from the very beginning. Like couple of words about us. We are, as I told before, premier partner of Google Cloud, but also partner of Asana, Zendesk, and GitLab, and Google Cloud and Google Workspace. We have like more than 1,400 acting contracts with customers in 50 countries at the moment. We do the whole stack of the services around the products we provide, like from the pre-sales, consulting, integration, training, audits, and support, and for sure license sale. And these are a couple of names of the customers which work with us. So first, what I wanted to say is that like there are like three generations of clouds. All of them call themselves cloud, but they're not actually the same. The first generation are the virtual data centers or hostings, where you place like your servers, or you have like provider servers with VMware on top of it. But after this, you like throwing out the infrastructure, redundant power, internet connections. But after that, you work with it like you would work with your own servers on your on premise. Like not much differentiators, but like it's better, but it's like couple of percents of the of things you may get from the cloud. The second generation is infrastructure as a service. There are different providers with it, starting from the more or less small, like Hetzner, or bigger ones like IBM or Oracle, which are actually infrastructure as a service. They have marketplaces, which where you may get the like software. It even will roll out to infrastructure you reserved automatically, but after that you still one-on-one with those solutions. And the third generation cloud, which are more or less the top three, including the Google Cloud, is the infrastructure where you have for sure infrastructure as a service, and where you, but after that you have a lot of managed services, so-called managed services. The differentiators are like you have if you want to roll out the database, for example, you may have the like marketplace where you buy the database, it rollouts to your servers, but then you are responsible for its security, its maintenance, its updates, and others. And if you are coming to the Google Cloud, for example, if we speak about traditional databases like Microsoft SQL or MySQL or Postgres, in this case, you're just come to the interface of Cloud SQL service. Tell that to just choose the type of database, choose the desired version of database. Then, like tell I want this size of instance, this size of storage. I want backups done with certain schedule, snapshots done with certain schedule, backups and snapshots stored with a certain schedule. Push submit, and in 5 minutes you have the working instance of the database, which is absolutely maintained by Google. With the HA, with the backups, with the upgrades, updates, all the things. You just don't have to have the person who will be in charge of maintaining your database. And that is coming not only to database, but also to containerized environments like Kubernetes. Probably you may have heard this word, or business data warehouse, or BI, or a lot of dozens of such things. So we're speaking about the third generation of cloud, and for sure some of the things will do with the first two generations, but not all. We wanted you to Anastasia wanted to place the couple of small questionnaires in the questionnaires section, not yet in place. I see, but I guess there will be soon. Because we would like to understand who are you, how much you are connected to cloud. But while we are waiting, maybe some of you may tell in comments, do you use the clouds, or you are on-prem, or you are in hybrid infrastructures? Where is your IT? Oh, the first questionnaire is already in the quiz section. Please, it's the triangle, square, and circle in the lower right corner, and then quiz section. Please answer for me to understand. Should I be more technical, less technical in my non-technical speech? Not much faults. Okay. While we are waiting, I will start. There are several like things in IT which like influences the TCO, because some of our customers, from like my experience, think that clouds are like good It's a trend. A lot of big customers already in cloud, but it's expensive, and they might look expensive when they measured head to head. We like took some CPUs and memory in the cloud. We take the physical server, like divide physical server into the 60 months, as usually the average time of usage of this all the physical servers is like 5 years or something, and comparing it head to head. But there are a lot of hidden aspects which influences the total cost of ownership, which matters actually, because the server is not only the like hardware, but also a lot of things around it. Uh, if we are speaking about IT, what do you think may be around in like acquiring the IT except the servers? Please, you may use the comment section. Okay, there's while you're thinking, it's actually not only the servers, but it's floor space, because you should have the room, and it's specially prepared room, which is not very cheap, not very easy. Power, and that should be redundant power. Cooling, which is like uh, pretty pretty also expensive. Then hypervisor, and which means for you additional capex. Hypervisors, because the physical machines are used nowadays mostly for things like Oracle databases or SAP, but in all other cases, usually the virtual machines are used, and for this, you should buy the hypervisor, which is like the environment for virtual machines, and which is additional capex, and this capex actually more or less equal to servers itself. Monitoring, logging, tracing, because be sure that your infrastructure is working normally, you should monitor your infrastructure, and that is additional software, which is usually in many cases pretty expensive and pretty hard to implement. Then fault tolerance, because if your hardware fails, which happens from time to time, you should hardware, software, you should be sure that your service up and running with as small delay as possible, because outages are expensive for most of us. Then disaster recovery is the next level of fault tolerance, like geographic fault tolerance. If the whole data center fails due to fire or flood or something, which is also complex, and which more than doubles your capex for your initial data center. And data encryption, which is also additional software, which gives your data more security, but also demands a lot of efforts and a lot of money, and all of these things are included in the Google Cloud's virtual machine, or included, or in some rare cases, like in factors cheaper than it would be on the in the ground. Then the next things are new resource provisioning. If you open the new like project, it is you have to buy the like plan the new hardware and new software, then come through the procedure of purchasing it, then install it, and then you may use it. And these are usually months. And on Google Cloud, you have the new resource like in seconds. What the other thing in planning is over provisioning, because when you buy the hardware, you usually have to buy something which will work for you like for 5 years. So when buying the hardware, you provision it with some reserve, because usually the next upgrade is planned in like 3 years. And in those 3 years, your resources, even if you planned it ideally, would be utilized. So you pay money for the resources you actually don't use. And in cloud, you pay just for what you actually used, and actually it is post pay for what you actually used the last month. The next story is pClouds, which is really um, uh, like often met in the, for example, retail. Because if you have Black Friday, you have like crazy discounts, and then you have like 10 times more visitors than standard day, or before the new year, before the Christmas, or something like that. And for this, you have the bad customer experience if you saved money, or you have more underutilized resources if in case you just like planned it right. And in cloud, you may have in seconds additional resources, and you may automate it with the coming of new visitors, and then resources are automatically offload after the users pass by. Like SDN, SDS, I wouldn't dig dig deep into the meaning of these words, but those are the like modern software which like helps you to automate the infrastructure, like, but one downside of cloud will always be depriving us of having fun while building these big setups and getting our hands dirty with hardware. Well, I'm like usually, yeah, you cannot like touch your hardware for sure. But I guess for most of commercial companies, is not very like you like so important for engineers to touch the hardware, because business usually doesn't do this. From my experience, I worked for SAP at some point in time, and usually even the SAP guys think that server is like black box with some processors, power, and memory, which like works with the SAP software, and that's all, which is to some extent right. And after that, the lot of operational things like OS updates or serverless computing, which means actually that you cannot touch not only the server but also the operating system. But it's not available in most cases on premise, but embedded and automated for in cloud. The next point is IT management, like planning, with those old stuff I mentioned before, with like over provisioning and planning the resources for 3 years in advance. It's a burden and lot of risks, because usually everyone is tending to over provision the resources, which means actually paying for the resources not used. And in clouds, it's risk-free. You just take the resources, you have it in 90 seconds, like with a click. And if you need more, you like do a couple of simple steps, and in next 90 seconds have more resources. And if you don't need the resources anymore, you just kill them. And as the most of the resources are build per second. So if you need the server for, I don't know, 252 seconds, you just pay for 252 seconds of the resource. Operations in IT management is burden, it's tough. You should have the like people which understand every piece of hardware and every piece of software you have in place, or you should like hire those people, which is not easy and pretty expensive. You should retain these people, which is in most cases is even more expensive and even harder. But you may have the person which you need like 3 hours per week, but you like pay him for the full time, or like hire the external resource, which is obviously like more expensive per hour, but may save you a lot of money. But in case of cloud, you just don't need this person, because like database is totally maintained by the Google Cloud, by the Google. Security, also the IT management stuff, and this is capex, which this is efforts, and actually it's embedded in the cloud. And in most cases, most of the customers can't implement this level of security. Google Cloud like gives out for free, like it's included. And it's actually very, very expensive, and most customers cannot afford it, just simply cannot afford it, which you have like included. Testing environments, if you have the some new project and you should like pilot, you should buy the this hardware. It would be the like those months for rolling out. And in testing, environments in cloud are done in seconds and killed in seconds. Easy, risk-free. Like third-party solutions, it's additional procurement for you in the on-prem space, and it's a marketplace which you have one point of contact. You pay for the infrastructure, and the third-party solutions are mostly, in many cases, and there are more and more every day. It's just a part of the same bill. And the vendor lock. In on-premise world, it's always vendor lock. That's like pretty common and pretty good actually for the vendors and from the for the sellers you buy the equipment from. But not very good for the customer, as it takes out the pretty big fraction of the flexibility in the in choosing the equipment for the next purchase. Actually, Victoria, I'm talking alone. Maybe vendor lock, I guess it's pretty important stuff. How it is in cloud? Is it the next level of vendor lock, or Google offers something else?
Thanks, thank you, Maxim. So when talking about vendor lock, as you said, in on-premise, normally you would have 100% vendor lock, but in cloud, it's not like that. We have a lot of customers that would use multiple cloud providers because sometimes, for example, from a backup perspective, they want to have availability and reliability. So they would, in case something happened to Google's data center or Microsoft data center, they have the data somewhere else. Or sometimes they're using services that are not available on the other side. And like all the big companies, all the big cloud providers, including Google, we are very like open to help and integrate customers with different clouds. So, in seamless integration with some AWS products, for example, or Azure, we are always happy to kind of open, the specific networking ports, help the customers to make those connections. And it's not like we're going to say, no, you cannot do this because you have to use 100% Google. Like that will never happen in the cloud.
Cool. Thank you. So let's go further, because we have other aspects, and those are business. Actually, a lot of people like perceive the IT as like something standalone, some like black boxes, which like doing something as and it's the like black hole for the money which like spending there. But at the end of the day, IT is the instrument for doing some business tasks for like maintaining the website, or business analytics, or ERP or something, CRM. and this demand actually comes from the business side, and for the people who involved in the in business, actually, who generates this IT stuff at the end of the day. There are some also differentiators in the cloud or on-prem. First is the payment model. On-premise is more or less, with a little exceptions, but in the infrastructure is 100% capex, where you have to buy it, pay it in advance, or pay the banking interest for acquiring, then put it into the main means, and then depreciate it. And in the cloud space, it's the 100% OPEX, which actually makes the tax story much easier. Then time to market. We understand that this world we live in at the moment is very fast, and your success is like depends on the how fast you offer the new solution to the market. And usually, if you do it, your competitors also do it the same time, and who will be the first will like winner takes it all. And we discussed already that time to market as the like in IT part, the purchasing and other things, deployment, it's months. And in cloud space, you may just deduct from your time to market this IT part, have your resources like in minutes, and you're like up and running. IT risks are high because if your project like doesn't work, and you have this budget for the project, you like have on hand your a bunch of iron and silicon and all other things included in server stuff, in which puts you in risk and raises the budget in the cloud space. Those risks are eliminated totally, because if you don't need the resources, the project is unsuccessful. Like you kill the resources, and from this second you don't pay for them. Planning, same story as with IT management, like burden and high risks, and like pay as you go for the cloud space. And the other story with planning is that you should buy something for pilot or like development cycle, and then you should think of those resources for the production system in the cloud. You just don't bother with it, because like if you need different resources for the pilot and or development and staging staging and completely different resources for the production, you just have it. You kill the testing resources and like provision the production. Compliance we discussed today. It's the burden, a lot of money, a lot of efforts, and all necessary certificates are present from the very start in cloud. And all those things comes to the last string, the project budget planning, which is pretty risky, and complex in the on-prem space, and like it's straight and tactical in the cloud. Well, the next story is finance, and like all the business is, and we were just gathered here for discussing the what clouds give to business is all around money. So what it gives to finance? Well, like I cannot to mention the financial model again. It's OPEX versus CAPEX on the on-premise payment methods. In on-prem, simple, you just pay in advance for 5 years for the resources you may hypothetically need next 5 years. In the cloud, you just pay for what you really actually used last month. Depreciation costs, like you know what it is on the ground, like no depreciation costs, no problems with decommissioning. In the cloud, you just kill the resources and just take the new ones. Cash flow, no optimizations in the ground because you just pay in advance, like you paid everything. And in the cloud space is like best possible, you're just paying for what you used. And IT staff costs. I didn't make the separate slide for the HR, but we discussed this topic in the IT. You need a lot of high-skilled professional IT professionals, which are pretty expensive on the market nowadays. And for sure, you will need them also in cloud, but in much less scale. It's optimized because for maintenance, you don't need the resources in many ways, and you just need the guys who will work with the business applications. Wiktoria, let me again involve you into this speech because, well, really, we pay as we go in the cloud, but on the other side of the story is the budgeting. Because when we are buying something in advance, we just budgeted it, bought it, and forgot it. And when we are paying for what we used, the question which I usually meet in the customer space is how we can budget it and how we control the budget, not like not to see that we overspended our budget like after the invoices in our mailbox.
Yeah, no, I 100% understand that. I did that recently almost with my demo environment. I reached my budget without realizing because I forgot to turn something off. But let me take it apart. There are two pieces to that. So there is budgeting it kind of before usage, and then also controlling it while you're using the resources. So when you're budgeting it before you start using the cloud, it's very important that you understand the resources that you need. So then you, like, as customer engineers, for example, very often we do like pricing estimation exercises with customers when they provide us with some details. So for example, they say, we want to have 2 virtual machines and a Kubernetes cluster, for example. That's how much data we're going to use. This is how much reads and writes we're gonna to have in our database. So then we can go step by step and estimate it. Of course, it will never be 100% accurate because this is an estimation. Of course, we're gonna go as close as possible. But then on top of that, we also have resources that scale automatically. So for example, if we're using any of the serverless solutions. Some of them are scaling up and down, like only when you need it. So as Maksym mentioned before, situations like Black Friday, for example, if you're a retail company, and you have a website, for example, that you're hosting on such service, your traffic normally would be very like regular, very stable, but then you will have those peaks. Black Friday, you will have those peaks for Christmas. So this is something that we cannot do in the estimation. That's something that you know you will have the peak in costs, but then also auto scaling of those. You don't have to buy it a month in advance. You don't have to think about it because it's going to happen naturally. And then for the second piece, when you're actually controlling your costs, in Google Cloud in the console, there is a way in your billing section you can set up alerts. So, for example, you can set yourself a budget that I don't want to go over, let's say, $1,000 a month, just to have a number to it. And then you can set an alert, send me an alert if I reach, for example, 80% of my budget. So, like, you can be very flexible with this. You can leave it free if you don't have a budget. Very good for you. But it's like we always recommend setting those alerts because something can happen. The same, I was testing something, I was just seeing how something works, and I almost reached my monthly budget because I just forgot. We are just human in the end, so I think it's a good practice to set those alerts, just to kind of monitor it. And when like in the console itself, it's super user friendly. There's a lot of like visualizations. It also gives you an estimated predicted spend till the end of the month based on your previous spend. So like mine is crazy now because I spent a lot last month, but it can also give you an idea. So if you want to lower your spending, you can see, okay, let's say it's estimating that I'm gonna spend $2,000 by the end of the month. Let me see project by project type of resources where I'm spending the most. Maybe I can optimize it further. So like it's very clear for customers, for like Google Cloud users to monitor it and analyze and see where those peaks are coming from. Maybe it's explained, they mentioned Black Friday, Christmas, somewhere where the traffic is bigger, or maybe there's some configuration that could be actually optimized. Always recommend those exercises like for pricing and cost optimization for those.
Yeah, thank you. And is it possible to limit the usage of the resources in Google Cloud?
Yeah, you can set the
Like the
caps on them.
quantity of the machines, or like I don't know, the storage space.
Yeah, definitely. There's also something that we're doing from our side, which is something called quota limits. So not everyone can suddenly have access to all the resources because, yes, we have lots of data centers in the world, but we also have a lot of customers who would like to use those resources. So there are some, for example, for some machine learning heavy workloads, we would use GPUs because they're the most optimal. For those, default is that no one can get them. They're at zero because we don't want to have the situation. They're quite expensive as well. We don't want to have the situation when someone turns them on and then suddenly, the spend is crazy there. There are limits in place. There is a way to also increase them. So this is from the quota perspective. But when you're using the resources, there's also a way to limit it, to control how much you're using, how much storage you have, etc. So, like it's
Yeah,
very
cool.
flexible and you can really adjust it for the use case.
Cool. Thank you. I guess that answers the big part of this question about the budgeting. Well, so I summarized most of the like things which gives the total cost of ownership. What's inside, except like server. Like we have one-time costs. It's the acquisition, which is space, racks, redundant power, and fire extinguishing systems and servers and storage and network and high availability backup systems and disaster recovery and all the things. And this is costly. And actually, when you buy the server in the cloud, all the space, redundant power, racks, cooling, and fire extinguishing and everything is actually in place and included in the price. Uh, then the planning, design, procurement, installation, implementation of the system, which is like pretty expensive, and in most cases, you will hire the external consultants and external partners for this. And actually, that part may double the numbers for the acquisition of the system. Indirect costs in this case is over provisioning, which we discussed, cash flow, interest rates, and time. Time is one of the most valuable resources. You cannot buy it, but it will cost you for sure. And the other part is repeatable costs, as the service contracts for all those things, except maybe space. But for the redundant power and servers and all the blah 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 blah, which was mentioned in the first part, at the moment the average support contract is like 16 to 22% per year. So in 5 years, you will also double the number for acquisition. Then maintenance updates, which consists of salary staff for staff, external consultants, and trainings, and all other things for all the same number of components of the system, which is will not double your numbers again, but still pretty decent. And the power, electricity for servers, for redundant power, they are not 100% efficient. Cooling, and normally the cooling energy is equals to like operating energy of the systems. For the power, for the fire extinguishing systems, for all the electric components, which also gives a pretty big numbers, and which is all those things are included into the virtual server you hire from the cloud provider, namely Google Cloud. So if 10 years ago we had to calculate thoroughly the business case, and in most cases cloud was a bit higher in price, but gave a lot of indirect benefits. Like 5 years ago, there were like some systems which we were not sure will work good in cloud. Like for today, as of today's situation, the technology is very mature, which is actually proved by sitting in cloud for the customers like HSBC or I don't know who the bigs are. A lot of actually the I guess like at least 80% of the Fortune 500 are there. So the technology is very mature. So any service will work in the cloud like pretty good in actually every case, better than on the ground. And it will always be cheaper. Like if we calculate total cost of ownership, right, it will be cheaper always. What is the other side is how effectively we use the cloud. And uh, there are several approaches to migration to the cloud, and like most widely spread as lift and shift is where you like take your infrastructure and just put it into the cloud. Actually, even for this case, Google Cloud is better than others because like 95% of the market works on the VMware, and Google has the pretty nice comprehensive instruments which allows to assess the on-prem infrastructure, understand the right sizing for the cloud, and then automatically in parallel offload to the cloud like hundreds of virtual machines simultaneously. Like one connector gives an opportunity to stream to the cloud like 500 machines, and if you have 2000, you'll just have to install the 4 connectors and like relaunch it in the cloud with like test it in the sandbox in the cloud, and then launch it in the cloud with like 2 minutes downtime, which is like pretty good. You will not be able to do this in other cloud providers in like most cases, if not to say always. And but if you did this, you like have a lot of benefits. But nevertheless, it's like 15%, around 15% of the benefits you may get from the cloud actually. And what's really important for you is to have a partner which understands how cloud works, how to build the architecture of your solution, of your infrastructure in the cloud, like to get other 85% of the benefits you may have from the cloud. And so because the instruments, the clouds are like on par, but well, let's say the instruments of migrations are much better in the Google Cloud than in other clouds. Like transparency of budgeting and transparency of actually billing is much more better, much better in the Google Cloud than others. There are some other spaces where Google is like clear number one, is like BI, BW, AI, ML, a lot of other things. But instrument is instrument, and cloud for you is instrument, is a platform. And what is really important for you is to have this like synthesis of right partner and right instrument to be really efficient in the cloud. Well, like main advantages again summarized. I will not, I guess, stop on every one of them. First is lower TCO, as uh, uh, much more easy, it's cheaper, it's better, it's more secure. Actually, the Google Cloud is the only cloud which has never been hacked. So nice case. OPEX model and everything. Well, that's more or less all I wanted to say. today. And before we go to questions and answers section, please, you have this QR code, which is we are actually planning some series of the such meetups on the like business side of the cloud, like cloud without tech. And if you liked our today's session, you may follow the link under this QR and pre-register for the next one, which is planned for the end of September. And then Q&A, you are very welcome to use or raise the hand and ask the question if we didn't tell about something, or write it in the chat section. Any? Victoria, I guess we are good in explaining the things.
Yes, apparently so. That's good to hear.
So let's give a couple of minutes. Maybe someone is printing. Yeah,
So hi, Maxim.
Raj. Yeah.
Thanks for the presentation. I'm really sorry I joined. I have a question over here, um, how you treat the FinOps thing when it comes to the migration part of to the Google. No.
Victoria?
Yeah. The question over here is how you treat the FinOps part when you are dealing with the migration to Google Cloud. So I mean to say, okay, there is a transformation that we are taking things to the Google Cloud, and for sure the client is looking for the FinOps part as well to be taken care. So what are the practices that are being looked upon in that context?
Would you mind just
Yeah.
telling me a bit
Mhm.
more what you mean by FinOps part? Like, if you can specify that a bit.
So what are the best practices in terms of saving money when we are moving to the cloud platform?
Okay, perfect. So, as I mentioned before, that will be definitely doing the pricing exercise. We do that a lot with customers before actually, before they're fully committed, before they're fully moved to the cloud. A good practice is as well doing a proof of concept, because that will give you an sample estimation of what you might be able to, what you would be normally like spending. We do cost optimization as well. For example, if you give us, for example, your on-premise architecture and you show it to us as engineer, we're gonna go step by step and translate it into the cloud and make best recommendation based on your, like values and the important parts that you want to focus on. So there are some customers, they don't actually say, okay, I want to move to the cloud and want to spend as little as possible. They don't highlight it, not always, but there are some that for them the cost is very important. So we're just gonna take an extra time and work together a little bit more detailed, more like carefully about the pricing and estimation and planning how the resources actually have to be deployed without the need of, if you are on prem, you have to buy the servers. So you have to buy more of them. But sometimes you might not have to, like, you might not need them. They may not be necessary, but you're still spending money. What we're doing is we're trying to avoid that. You spending money on resources that you actually don't need. Because as Maxim mentioned before, it's pay as you go. I don't know if that answers your question.
I guess I would like
Yeah,
to add some couple of things. There are I told the set of instruments in Google for the migration purposes. One of them is assessment tools. There are few of them, and which means that you place the like one small additional instance into your network, give to it the appropriate access rights, and it like assess your infrastructure, your servers on-prem in terms of CPU usage, memory usage, network usage, disk usage, and have the on the output you have the right sizing of the infrastructure, not like you had it on-prem, because the normal story on-prem with those over provisioning I mentioned a lot of times. Today, you have some servers, and the common practice is like we have on-prem this number of processors, this number of memory. Just like give us the numbers from how these numbers of CPUs and memory will cost on the cloud. But nobody thinks of on-prem servers were over provisioned and were used like 20%. And these tools give the opportunity to assess the like make the right sizing in the cloud, and the consequently the pricing of the really needed resources in the cloud before even the proof of concept. The next part is the right architecture, because some approaches which customers use on the ground don't work in cloud, because like we had a customer which the customer decided that he needs all the logs for all the time of working of their systems, and at some point in time it was like 27 terabytes of logs in the log volume, and they saved it in stored it in log volume, which is the most expensive part. It's stored for the certain amount of time, like for free, but from the certain day it starts to cost a lot. And there is a normal practice to offload the old logs to BigQuery, which is the business data warehouse, and even the data lake in the Google Cloud, which actually the place you need them, you need those logs because you may analyze them inside the BigQuery, and it's actually the most cheap option to store the data, because if you don't change the tables for the certain amount of time, I guess like 90 days, it becomes even twice cheaper than on the standard S3 storage. So like this is the synthesis also of instruments which Google offers, and I forgot to mention that this instrument of assessment is completely free, is accessible via partner, and it's absolutely free for the customer for usage. And you may like put it for like 1 month and have the assessment for with all the peaks in different days, different time, different weeks. And actually, which I also forgot to mention, this instrument for streaming your virtual machines to the cloud from VMware is also absolutely free. So Google just gives it out. So this you may have the right partner which advise you how to assess right your infrastructure and how to build the right architecture. Like I hope we together with Wiktoria answered the question.
Yes, thanks very much. Like re-architecture was something like it is very hard to influence the client sometimes to re-architect their application, but we have to do when we are moving to the cloud to actually use their potential to the fullest, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the question.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Hey guys,
Yes.
so I've been looking at this whole cost and cost optimization of the migrating from on-premises to cloud, and I have a question regarding actually the personnel cost, because like we can optimize hardware all we want, but like from my perspective, one of the most valuable assets in a company are its people. Like the performance of the company is directly proportional to the way that people are treated inside the company. So what I wanted to ask is, like, whenever you're migrating a customer from on-premises to the cloud, is there any part of the story that focuses on actually like what makes their employees' life better? Like how does it make it better for them to like, how does it change the way that they manage their time, and how it helps them be more maybe productive, or maybe like pick up new skills and smarten themselves up in a way that it makes their participation in the company a little bit more meaningful, and them being more happy to work there. Like it's kind of like cool to give directions, but from me, the way I see it is like, if I have, let's say, 100 employees, and all of them are happy, and they're like feeling good about what they're doing, part of the stress that's on me being at the top on the leadership, like it's carried by them, and it's not carried by them like with a whip. It's carried because like they're happy, they're joyous to do this kind of work. So I'm just like questioning if there's any part of this, if you guys have like such an approach, and what has been your success with this.
I Let me just start. So me personally, whenever I talk to customers, one of the first questions I ask, how is your technical resource in-house? Are they familiar? Do they know cloud? Have they used it before? Maybe they use a different provider. For example, in a situation when someone would tell me, okay, we don't really have the technical knowledge, I would 100% recommend the customer to work with a partner, because then they can support them from a technical and like implementation side. Because just to give you an idea, as a customer engineer, I actually cannot do anything in your environment. I cannot do hands-on. I'm more there to, review an architecture, share best practices, advice, but I cannot do anything. And partner like Cloudfresh, for example, that would be someone who can help you with this. What I also really like, even in the console, there's a lot of guides, and I personally use them a lot because there's so many products. So they just pop on. Do you want to learn more about Kubernetes? And it's literally a quick guide that walks you through basics, how to spin up a cluster, for example. There are also things that would make your life easier. Just talking about Kubernetes, for example, you can do it two ways. So you have normal Kubernetes that you deploy yourself, you manage yourself. But if you're not so familiar, if your staff is not so familiar, you can also use things like autopilot, which does a lot of things automated for you. So you don't have to worry about setting everything up, because it is automated. So from that perspective, definitely personally, um, as you said, if they're happy, you're happy. I believe in that as well. If we are happy, everyone will be happy, good vibes and everything. I don't know, Max, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, well, actually, there are also few aspects of this story. First is technical guys are usually very keen to like new cutting edge technologies, and that's the place they have it. And The second big part is like boring operational stuff is done for them automatically by Google, and they have much more time for innovating, for doing something interesting, which is usually I worked like a lot of years for the hardware companies. And there's the common story was, guys, I want to give you like the most modern machine for the testing. And usually the first answer I hear is like coming 2 months, because like next 2 months we are all over planned because I have a lot of operational work. And even after in 2 months, you give the machine and like ask how many time you do you need for the testing. Like 2 weeks. Okay. You wait 2 weeks. You wait like another 2 weeks to give the people time to enjoy. And after that, you call them and ask, like, guys, how is the testing? And usually, what you hear is, "Oh, cool that you called, because we just wanted to call you and to ask the password to the machine." Because we were like in operations, and in the case of cloud, the most boring stuff is offloaded from them. So I guess that should make them happy, or at least happier.
Okay. So they want simplicity and like taking care of like the things that some of us really like playing with the big machines. Okay, I got it. Thank you so much for the response. That was cool.
Thank you.